Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Welcome back to the Nightly News. Owen Shroyer with you, and I am joined by Andrew Kerr from thecitizensaudit.com. Now, you may have seen the coverage we had last night on his reports, very scathing reports on David Brock and his activities involving campaign contributions and the Democratic Party. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us. Tell me, what was the first step in you beginning this investigative report into David Brock?
Well, a couple months ago, I was interested in learning more about the laws and regulations that govern our campaign finance system. Shortly after I started, I stumbled across Media Matters' 2014 tax return. Noticed that they raised over $10 million in 1 year, and it all came through a professional fundraiser named the Bonner Group. I tried to look up some more information on the Bonner Group. I found one article from the New York Times that showed that they were one of the most successful fundraisers in Washington, D.C., and I found nothing else. And that's really strange. They're the most successful. Why don't they have a website? Why aren't there any other articles? It was just a mystery. So that led me down this massive rabbit hole of uncovering some incredibly interesting findings using only publicly available information, IRS nonprofit tax returns, filings with the FEC, business registration documents. And I spun up my website, thecitizensaudit.com, to publish my findings on. So, and here we are.
And you did file a report, actually. Now, and one of the reports you filed is Media Matters for America is filing fraudulent tax returns. And in a lot of these reports, you actually have the documents. You have the numbers. You didn't need any special passes. You didn't need any special clearances. You, as a citizen, looked into this and found scathing documentation of fraudulent tax returns and money laundering.
Yeah. Comparing data from the FEC, so that's where super PACs are required to submit their receipts. We can see for years, American Bridge 21st Century, it's a super PAC that shares office space with Media Matters for America. They pay rent to Media Matters for America. Now, Media Matters for America is a nonprofit 501c3. They have to submit what's called a Form 990. It's the nonprofit version of a tax return. And there's two options to report rental income, as I described in the report, but Media Matters doesn't report any rental income. I focused on 3 years in the report, 2012 through 2014. We can clearly see almost $300,000 of rent payments to Media Matters, but they don't report it in their tax returns. It's a cut and dry argument. And honestly, the most shocking thing about all this is that this data has been sitting out there for 4 years, and I'm the first person to report on this. But what a crazy situation just to be a guy that's interested in learning more about the system to find something this damning. And if I don't come forward and say something, then it's just not going to be uncovered. Nobody's going to know what's happening here. So I'm having to step up and speak out.
So, Andrew, you did all of this work by yourself as a citizen. It's like you're doing the IRS's job for them. Could you even believe when you found this evidence?
No, it was shocking to find it, and then it was even more shocking to find that nobody else was reporting on it. I mean, what's going on if there's all this dirt that's just sitting out on the surface, and we're also focused on the email leaks, on those sensational stories. But man, there's stuff that's just sitting out there on the surface that nobody's looking at. Everything on the site, there's 8 articles that all encompass one larger story, and it's all just using public-facing information. All I've done is uncover it and highlight the key points.
Now let's talk about the flow chart. This exemplifies how he's laundering the money and using the Bonner Group as kind of the middleman that takes all of these profits and filters them back into the overall larger conglomerate of the super PACs. I mean, this is the Jordan Belfort of the Democratic Party campaign contributions.
Yeah, so so I identified 14 separate organizations, separate entities that that share office space with Media Matters, and one of them is the Bonner Group. And you know, before going any further, the IRS requires organizations to disclose who they give money grants to, but they don't require them to disclose who they receive that money from. So it's a really weak system of one-way verification that looks like it's that's how they're abusing this system. And so when we follow the money, for instance, when we just start at Media Matters, if you go to their 2014 tax return, you can see that they give money to the Franklin Education Forum and to the American Independent. Both are organizations that share office space with Media Matters. Now, when we look at the Franklin Education Forum, they received, I believe it was $930,000 from Media Matters. Their total revenue for 2014 was about $980,000. So well over 90% of their funds came from Media Matters. But they credit the Bonner Group for raising 100% of those funds. They paid the Bonner Group a $120,000 commission in 2014. And furthermore, they actually state towards the end of the tax return that they don't share expenses with any of the other organizations. So the Franklin Education Forum did pay $120,000 to the Bonner Group, and that was essentially David Brock writing a check to himself.
Exactly. It's like
all these organizations.
Exactly. It's like if I cut a check to myself and then claimed you were the middleman, and then we had a collusion going on where we both made massive amounts of money, but because there's two different names for these super PACs, we're able to get away with it. Now let's talk about farther than just David Brock, but what implications does this have with the Democratic Party and specifically Hillary Clinton?
Well, I also uncovered records that that the Clinton campaign is colluding with this conglomerate. Correct the Record, as you described yesterday, is essentially just an army of paid internet trolls to correct Hillary Clinton's record. And they, due to some loopholes in our system, they actually legally coordinate with the Clinton campaign. So that's fine in a way. I mean, they're following the rules. The thing of it, though, is that there are no rules that enable the Clinton campaign to coordinate with American Bridge 21st Century, which is one of the super PACs that shares office space in the conglomerate. American Bridge 21st Century is an organization that's devoted to opposition research. So they actually have about 50 what they call trackers that just follow around Republican politicians and try to catch them, in these gaffes. And they accept unlimited funds from outside resources to fund these activities. And actually, I uncovered a receipt that the Clinton campaign purchased research from American Bridge 21st Century in December 2015. So imagine my surprise when I look up this transaction and nothing comes up. Nobody has reported this, and this is just something that it will take you 5 minutes. You go to the FEC's website, search American Bridge 21st Century, and you can see this exact transaction for yourself. And I'm the first person to bring this up. Furthermore, I found evidence that from their FEC filings that the assistant treasurer for American Bridge 21st Century is also the assistant treasurer for Correct the Record. David Brock has come out and said that he's able to operate these organizations in his office and work with the Clinton campaign with Correct the Record because he has cut off operational discussions with American Bridge 21st Century. But here we have the assistant treasurer of both of these organizations is the same exact person. I mean, it's obvious that the campaign strategy is reaching these other organizations. They openly collaborate with Correct the Record, and then we see a clear trail to the other organizations, such as the American Bridge 21st Century. I mean, it's a shadow campaign, and it's not legal at all. And it's been happening, and nobody has said anything about it.
Andrew Kerr from thecitizensaudit.com. Amazing reports he's put out. He's been working on this for a long time. He says his goal is to get Media Matters audited by the IRS. He's already done the IRS's job for them. All they got to do is come in and bring this guy down. Thank you so much for your time, Andrew.
Thanks, Owen.
Wow, what a scathing report. We've caught David Brock red-handed. We've caught Media Matters red-handed. When will the IRS step in and do their job? Thanks to everybody who tuned into the nightly news tonight, prisonplanet.com. Leanne McAdoo has the news tomorrow night, 7 o'clock Central, Infowars.com.
Thousands of years ago, there was a basic form of chivalry. Our ancestors would hear the drums of war, giving the warriors of the tribe a chance to organize and prepare a defense. 60 years ago, when foreign air forces were approaching filled with bombs, they had drums of their own, air raid sirens. But in the 21st century, there are silent weapons for quiet war. Pathogens added to the food and water, and to the lining of plastics that destroy our vitality, turn off our hormones, and accelerate our journey towards death. I personally counter this onslaught with Anthroplex. Anthroplex is designed with known organic concentrated herbs to create the basic foundation to normal metabolic activity inside the human body. Discover why Anthroplex is turning so many heads today. It's time for us to take our bodies back into our own hands, and it starts at InfoWarsLife.com with Anthroplex.